the seats in there, and you give a rating.
That's actually, we'll call it the smell test. That's actually a great idea. Yeah. And then it'll just be like the nose emoji, right? But then like green stuff coming out of it for a real bad one or something.
3 noses. You get like the boom guys from Costco.
Yeah, oh, those guys. I'm telling you, like, civilization is collapsing as we know it. We are there, Greg. I mean, the Costco boys. What is that?
I am in my house. I'm in a heated room. I've got a blanket on me. I'm working from home. I only have to move 10 feet. Things are going pretty good.
For you, sure. But for how long?
Let's see. So I am 34 years old, some pre-existing health conditions. I've got another 30 good years in me, and then things are going to start to come undone.
Well, the fabric of civilization is rapidly unraveling. So if you got another 30 years in you, that's great. Hey, good morning. Happy to start on a high note. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Sims single lineup Sims building show, lineup building show. 11 games. I love weeks like this. We have, I don't know if you realize this, Greg. I'm pretty excited about it. So you've got Thursday football.
Mm-hmm.
People are tired of hearing me say this, but the season's coming to an end, so I'm going to try and revel in it all before. And so is civilization. So I'm going to try and really enjoy this. Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then next week, we have Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. That is some good stuff. So if you think about it, this coming week, the week of Christmas, the only 2 days there aren't going to be football games are Tuesday and Friday. Five out of 7 days with football. That's pretty, actually, you could say 7 out of 9 days with football. Tell me you're not excited about that.
It's a lot of different slates to be playing. And I know that right now, this is a little bit of a low point because there's no NBA. And then we've just got, I mean, really, you look at the YouTube channel, we've got this show you and I are doing. We got the NHL show in a couple of hours, and even the NHL slate, it's only a 5-gamer. So yeah, things a little bit slow today because of the NBA Cup wrapping up. But then to your point, yeah, it really picks up lots of NBA slates. We got a ton of NFL slates coming up. So it should be a good finish to the season for the last few weeks of NFL.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. So let's get into it. We've got, by the way, Jake DeWitt said, fired off some hockey bets with Portfolio EV, doing a deep dive on Hilltoppers after the show. Well, I haven't seen any. Have you gotten any hockey bets in yet today? I've got the screen up now. I haven't gotten any yet, but that's because only really 3 books I can get them down on at this point.
I placed a few this morning right when I woke up.
Damn,
maybe
I
like
missed
5 or 6. Not like a crazy amount or anything.
When I found the good time, surprisingly, I mentioned this to you before, to get hockey bets down the night before. Like if you're still awake, 11 o'clock, I got home from hockey the other day and I was in my car before I went inside. It was like 11:45. Bunch of hockey bets started coming up. So you get a lot of that good value the night before, but they trickle in, and hockey's been super profitable. We'll get into that later. Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. Hey, if you don't mind, take a second, atone for your sins. We're midway through the week. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. What's your preferred build this week? Let us know, because I think there are a lot of different ways that you can make this work. You have an extraordinarily expensive Josh Allen. You have Jalen Hurts in a favorable matchup. You've got a few really expensive quarterbacks and then some value down there as well. I'm talking dirt cheap shit like Mac Jones with Brian Thomas and Brenton Strange cheap. So, Greg, I feel like, as we always do, and as always, if you want to listen in podcast form, Apple Podcast, Spotify, we got you covered everywhere. I feel like, as we always do, we try a variation of builds and just see how they come out.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see also what some of the chat likes to do. I've noticed some of my initial runs of the Sims, lots of cheap quarterbacks showing up in these lineups. You got Josh Allen on the high end, and then beyond him, I mean, you got Michael Penix lineups. There's some Dorian Thompson lineup. Like, there's all kinds. of cheap QBs that show up in lineups here. And then even some of the younger and consistent quarterbacks were not punt plays per se, but still, I mean, Anthony Richardson is $5,400. Caleb Williams is $5,500 in what should be a pass friendly game script. So lots of interesting spots to look at.
Man, Michael Penix Jr. against the Giants.
And there's no way we can know anything about him. There's just no way about how he's going to translate to the NFL. But that's kind of a benefit to GPPs because he could come out looking really good. He could look terrible also. At least we should feel that there's some vote of confidence that Kirk Cousins is benched for Penix, because it's not that Cousins has been great this year, and he's been not great for sure the last few weeks, but it's not like he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL this year or anything like that.
No, look, there's going to be a lot that we can get to, so we'll try a variation of builds. Maybe we'll even try to speed them up a little bit so we could build maybe one or two more lineups than we normally have. Let's do it. Yeah, the whole Michael Penix thing. He's got his deep ball is sick. And look, not saying this is even a remotely close comp in many ways, but sometimes, you look at him and you're like, you got another lefty out there that can rip a deep ball. Some Michael Vick vibes coming back to Atlanta. If this guy's good, man, Falcons fans are going to be excited about that one. But anyway, let's make it happen. I did, Greg, I ran the actual Sims too, just to get an idea. I'd just like to see what looks good early in the week. Things can obviously change. But I'm not super shocked on what I'm getting early on. And just to kind of throw it out there so you guys know a bit of a direction that we're taking here. Jahmyr Gibbs with no David Montgomery is going to be popular. He should be. I'm going to be getting to a lot of that. Talked about it with Ben yesterday on the First Look show. Ben liked Jonathan Taylor, and I'm surprised how much Taylor I'm actually getting, which is very interesting. Zach Charbonnet, assuming someone like Kenneth Walker doesn't play. The only one that I thought I'd be getting more to right now, actually, there's a couple. Bijan Robinson against the Giants. James Conner, I thought I'd get a little bit more than that. I'm not really getting any Kyron Williams. Do I smooth ownership exposure out throughout the week if it stays similar to this? Probably, because I think you are absolutely loaded at running backs in that top tier, 7K and up.
Yeah, there's a lot of running backs to like. There's a lot of cheap quarterbacks to like. Tight end, there's a handful of cheap tight ends to like too, because none of these guys really got priced up. Like Jordan Akins didn't get priced up all that much. Brenton Strange, and they got priced up a little bit. It's not like they're min price or anything, but still the salaries are too cheap. So this is going to be an interesting spot to figure out where we want to spend up.
All right. So how do we want to start with the build here? Where's our preferred way to make this happen? We do have Michael Penix Jr. in the projections. We have him projected to start, so that's helpful for both of us. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, it's gross. I'm very uninterested in DTR. I think this guy's terrible, but if we wanted to make it happen, fine. He's very cheap, sub 5K. But I would, and I know we're not getting to him, but I would rather go Mac Jones at 5,200 over Dorian Thompson-Robinson any day of the week. It's a personal preference thing. That's the way I would like to do it. I'm not saying we build that lineup right now, but I'm going to be a little bit more cautious about how I'm jamming some of these cheap quarterbacks into my lineups.
I have a feeling I'm going to get to a pretty good amount of exposure to Michael Penix come Sunday. He's the one that I want to start building lineups around. I'm just a hunch, but I think he's going to be my most rostered quarterback this week.
You're probably right. I don't know. How do I pronounce your name, dude? EWWEE2K. Mac Jones is a bad quarterback. Penix is not. I mean, come on, dude. That can't actually be. I refuse to believe that's a serious comment and you're not just trolling me.
We have no clue if Penix is good or not. We have no clue. I'm willing to take the chance because he's so cheap. He's got a great matchup. As of right now, he's projected for 9% ownership. So, somewhat popular, but not anything crazy problematic. I'm not rostering him thinking he's the best quarterback in the world. I think there's upside in an easy matchup and he's cheap. He could end up being terrible. The way most young quarterbacks are, probably even the most likely scenario is that he ends up being terrible. But I like the upside of 4,500.
So do I. But I'm saying we don't like you. We know Mac Jones isn't good, but how are you going to definitively say that Michael Penix is a good NFL quarterback? You can't. You
How many
can't.
snaps has he taken this year?
Like 10.
Let's see, what are his overall passing stats? Yeah, we've seen him throw 5 passes. He's completed 3 of 5 passes for 38 yards. All right, if that's enough for you to look at and be like, that's the guy, sure. It's okay to say we don't know sometimes, though.
I don't know. And Greg said just not sure how to project Penix. Um, yeah, like I said, dude, I understandably Mac Jones isn't very good, but there is also an argument to be made that Brian Thomas is very good. And Brian Thomas is still super viable. Mac Jones is cheap, and Brenton Strange is coming off a 12 target game. And they're facing a bad Raiders team with no pass rush now that Max Crosby's out. So I could definitely make arguments in both directions for that and be pretty convincing no matter which position I take. Anyway, do you want to build one with Penix?
Yep, let's start with Penix.
All right, let's do it.
And I
I'm
think
really surprised we're
pretty
not getting any Bijan right now. I know most of that is because of Jahmyr Gibbs. I get it. But I'm surprised that there wouldn't be more. I really thought we'd see more Penix and Bijan lineups, Greg, because the Sims never have a problem putting a quality pass catching back in with a quarterback, especially a cheap quarterback.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who I most like stacking Penix with, and I think the easy answer is just Drake London.
That's fine. Just a skinny stack though.
Kyle Pitts is only 4K, but there's other tight ends I prefer to him. Yeah, I think single stack. I think that's a pretty reasonable way to go. And then you could run it back too with Neighbors is only $6,100. That is a crazy low price point for him. And the quarterback play also has been abysmal for the Giants, but there's always volume there for Neighbors. He had a crazy amount of volume last week. So that's just too cheap of a price tag. He has this year, Neighbors has at least 7 targets in every single game, and he only has less than 10 targets in 3 of those games. Last week, was he efficient? No, absolutely not. Because how efficient could he be when the Giants are running out Tim Boyle, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito as their quarterbacks? But he got 14 targets from Malik Neighbors last week. He got 10 of them for 82 yards and a touchdown. It's kind of hard to fail at $6,100 if he's going to be getting 10 to 14 targets, which is kind of regularly where he's at.
I'm all about it. I'm with you. I said it yesterday that I think we're at a point with Malik Neighbors where he's just gotten cheap enough to where you go, all right, I don't really care who the quarterback is at this point. You know, like whether it's Tim Boyle, Tommy DeVito, or Drew Lock, I don't think it really matters all that much. Let's throw Neighbors in there. I'll throw Gibbs in too. And for what it's worth, this isn't just a projections based thing. Jahmyr Gibbs, somebody actually astutely pointed out in chat yesterday during the first look show, when Ben and I were going back and forth on this, that last year when Montgomery missed the game, Gibbs had 31 touches, which is a crazy number. Not only did he have 31 touches, but now you look, their back, it sounds crazy, but their back's kind of up against the wall with all of these defensive injuries. You lose McNeil now. You lose who did they lose to the broken jaw? Why can I not remember his name? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Carlton Davis. You lose Carlton Davis. You lose Montgomery. They have the tiebreaker over Minnesota, but they play them again, and they have the same record. So they can't afford to just run out Reynolds for 20 carries, right? So let's go with Jahmyr Gibbs as well.
All right. Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs totally makes sense. Montgomery out for the season. And, then there's a lot of other interesting options we could look at running back as well from Charbonnet, if we assume that Kenneth Walker is going to be out. Jonathan Taylor, who's just, as you mentioned, showing up a lot in the Sims. He's been priced way down at $6,900. Chuba Hubbard, he was a bit of a bust last week, but that's not enough for me to totally be getting off of him or anything like that. Jerome Ford, who looks like he's going to be the guy in the Cleveland backfield going forward, and he's also not pulling all that much ownership. Boy, I feel good about a lot of these guys.
Pick
Let's
one.
see. Let's plug the defense in first, Jordan. That's always good practice.
And while we do that, Mike Clifford asked, hey, has any Millie had a top 10 with a punt quarterback? Just curious. All the time, dude. Yeah. All the time. I mean, just this year, I think 2 or 3 Millies have won with quarterbacks that are like low 5K. And that, to me, that's pretty much a punt. Like Daniel Jones, I think, was 5,100 or something. So yeah, it happens. Does it always happen? No, but it definitely happens.
Caleb Williams was another one.
Mm-hmm. Caleb. Yeah.
I remember last year, this was an actual punt. It's crazy because I remember this watching him play the other day because he was so shitty. Desmond Ridder won a milli last year, and he was like $4,800.
That was my claim to fame, dude. I was so heavy on that Atlanta stack. Yeah, that I'll talk about that one forever. Except I didn't win the milli. It was a good week, but didn't win the milli.
It happens pretty frequently.
It was Ridder with London and Pitts. That's what it was. And they didn't even have huge games. They were just good.
Yeah, Rand says Daniel Jones 1 week last year. Yeah, won this year as well. Daniel
against
Jones
Washington.
Multiple millies.
Yeah, against Washington this year.
That also is something that the quarterback position, it often doesn't matter how well you play in terms of what it translates to for points for DFS. Because like the Caleb Williams one he won earlier in the year, a big part of winning milli at a big price point for quarterback, especially when they're cheap, we'll often see it's because the team loses by like 30 points and then they just air it out against prevent defenses for all of the fourth quarter.
Exactly. They also have concentrated offenses. Like with Daniel Jones, it was a Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors skinny, right? Last year you had a pretty good, they didn't have Darnell Mooney, right? So you knew the ball. It was Drake London and it was even Pitts was getting a decent amount of work early on. A lot of these spots, same with Caleb Williams, you know who his targets are going to. You know, you're not trying to spread it around. That's why I mentioned Mac Jones, just because Mac Jones, Brian Thomas is clearly the number one. And then you're just hoping that it's either like Brenton Strange or Parker Washington. All right. Did you plug a defense in?
So at defense, Jordan, let's go to. All right. What's cheap this week? We've got the Browns at $2,300 against the Bengals. At least it's an opportunity for a lot of pass attempts. We know Joe Burrow is going to be airing it out. Whatever, they're cheap. $2,300. That's fair enough.
All right. I'd rather go to we can't because of the lineup build, but the Giants there are going to be an interesting cheap defense play in non-Michael, especially if he gets steamed.
Totally agree. Giants at $2,400. I know the Giants defense is terrible. We know absolutely nothing about Michael Penix. And for all the reasons we think there might be upside in the unknowns, there's downside in the unknowns as well. So I think it makes sense for us to plug the Giants defense into lineups that don't have the Falcons offense. But we've got the Falcons stack in this one. So let's go with the Browns defense at 2,300.
Yep. If we want to go 2 tight ends here, it doesn't matter to me, but I want to plug in Jordan Akins against the Bengals. I don't think it's a really good matchup. I'd be surprised if Njoku plays. If he does, well, we can change things. But give me Akins there. That now gives us 6,700 per player with a running back, wide receiver, and flex still on the board.
All right. Running back, wide receiver, flex. All right, I want to go one cheaper guy. Let's go Jerome Ford at $5,600. I like Ford this week, and then we're also getting a little bit of correlation with the defense.
You want to go Ford and Akins?
Oh, good point.
I mean, we can plug Ford in. I don't care. We can pull Akins out. It doesn't matter to me. We could put Brenton Strange in there. I think it's a good spot for him. Let's just do that. Who cares?
All right. Yeah, it's not that big of a difference.
I also think both Ford and Akins are cheap enough to where it doesn't really matter that much. But
yeah, we do have Strange projected for almost one full more fantasy point. He's $300 more expensive. Points per dollar. They're very, very similar.
All right. So now we get into this wide receiver spot. A lot of places you can go here. A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams is interesting to me. Tyreek Hill is interesting. I mean, very interesting because I'd be surprised if Jalen Waddle plays. Yeah. Mike McDaniel said the injury is not major, not surgery related. But when I hear that, it just means he's not going to play this week, but he won't have surgery either.
Yeah. And another thing to consider too is the Dolphins are so unlikely to make the playoffs at this point that I don't think they're going to push Waddle.
Yeah, I also don't think I think it's unlikely, but I don't think it's crazy because Denver, I think, could actually lose out. Denver has the Chargers in LA, and then I know they face the Chiefs, and they have another difficult matchup they have the Bengals in week 17.
Yeah. The Chiefs also might be resting everybody week 18. The one thing that I saw Adam Schefter had quote tweeted somebody on this too. The biggest downside of the NFL extending the schedule, we might have all of the playoff seeds, or not all of the seeds, but all the playoff teams wrapped up after this weekend,
We
which
won't
I don't
though,
think is
but we
great
could.
if there's 2 weeks with no playoff spots at stake. And especially considering Mahomes is banged up right now, there's a real risk that the Chiefs are only playing backups in week 18. But I hear you. There is a potential of the Broncos losing out. Are they ahead of the Chargers in the standings
Yeah,
though?
they're 9-5. The Chargers are 8-6.
All right.
Don't get me wrong. It's still I'm agreeing with you that it's unlikely. I just mean that I don't think they're just packing it in either.
No, I don't think they're packing it in. I'm just trying to figure out. Maybe it might be more likely the Dolphins were to pass the Chargers in the standings than the Broncos. Either way, it's unlikely though.
Man, if you're a type of person that believes the NFL is scripted, right? This should be your week to go all in. Because look, if you were to ever convince me that there was a time where the NFL made sure of something, right? Of an outcome, right? It would be when they don't want to have 2 straight weeks of the NFL season with zero playoff implications. Think about that for a second.
Especially when they're trying to extend the season to
Yep.
18 games.
Yep. Like if you're that type of person, and I'm not talking about the bozos that Greg quote tweets all the time that think every time a player gets injured, the league, threw a banana peel onto the sideline in a basketball game. I'm talking about like this is one where I might convince myself that there's some interesting officiating late in games to turn things to keep it interesting through the final 2 weeks of the season. Just saying, Greg, that would be real bad for the league if week 17 and 18 meant absolutely nothing in the AFC.
Yeah. And I mean, kind of potentially similar with some of the NFC spots as well, depending how some of these games end up going. Like if the Rams end up winning and the Seahawks end up losing, stuff like that. But yeah, like I don't know how you'd be able to sell the public on we need more games in the season when we're only 3 seasons into this being a 17 game schedule. And you have the potential for just all of the playoff teams locked up well in advance. So
Yep.
we'll see. We'll see how it ends up playing out.
All right. Did we plug a receiver in? Because I would go Hill, or I'd be fine with a lot of these guys. Jamar, I'd be fine with. I'd be fine with AJ Brown. Brian Thomas. I'm shocked that we aren't getting more Brian Thomas. I really thought Brian Thomas would be one of my most exposed players.
I'm about 2x the field on him in the Sims run I did.
You are? Okay, I have 9% right now.
Yeah, I have 14% at just under 8% projected ownership.
I still thought it'd be higher.
Let's see. Which direction do we want to go? How about Puka Nacua? Very clearly to me is the #1 wide receiver on the Rams over Cooper Kupp at this point.
Yeah, that's become pretty evident, hasn't it? All right, go Puka Nacua. 6,100. This is a fantastic range this week. You could go DJ Moore. You could go DJ Moore and pay up a little bit more at defense. That wouldn't even be a bad thing.
That's definitely possible. You go Zach Charbonnet at 6K against the Vikings.
Let's try that. Yeah. Let's see. Kenneth Walker's status. Yeah, it's the same as it was earlier. You think he plays?
It's such a high leverage game for the Seahawks that I think that if he's on the fence, he's more likely to play than not. So it really is going to come down to how healthy is he actually. I'm going to say that he's probably going to be something like 50-50, and then they just decide, hey, let's play him. What do we have to lose at this point in the season when we're tied with the Rams for the division lead? So I'll guess he does play, but it's not a very strong guess. It's just kind of a flimsy 50-50 sort of opinion there. But for the purpose of this, since we have him out in our projections and Charbonnet projects pretty well, I'm good with assuming for the purpose of this show that he won't play.
Do we want to try it? By the way, this simmed out nicely. Do we want to try a Josh Allen lineup?
Yeah, I think it's a way different build than any of the other viable ones.
Big time. Let's try it. Let's try something with Josh Allen here.
It's so hard to know who to stack him with.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I asked Ben yesterday how opposed he was to just going naked Josh Allen with no pairings there. I'm fine pairing him with like a Khalil Shakir, maybe even a Kincaid, but I mean, Amari Cooper, all of these guys, it's really tough.
Yeah, I really thought that we were going to actually, I don't even hate Amari Cooper. People are really sour on Amari Cooper because he was completely uninvolved. He had 14 targets the game before that, though.
That's true.
If I had to pick one contrarian wide receiver that the field is going to have no interest in playing that I think has upside, Amari Cooper's $5,200.
Also, Khalil Shakir projects like 3.5 points better, and he's 5,900.
If I had to pick one, it would be Shakir, but relative to ownership, I'll take some chances on Cooper this weekend.
All right, you want to try it then? You want to throw Amari Cooper in here?
We could go Cooper. Yeah, and
right.
Once again, 0 targets last week, 14 targets the week before.
Yeah, that's why stacking this team stinks. So tough. I'm going to throw Giants defense in there for now because we talked about non-Michael Penix lineups. Let's see what happens there. Up top. Okay. I mean, you're probably going to have to play Jerome Ford in a spot like this. I think so, at least. Do you see it differently? I mean, you can't pay up for 2 running backs in this lineup.
No, you're gonna have to go cheap, especially because Josh Allen's so expensive. So we are gonna have to go either Ford or Charbonnet at 6K. Yeah, I don't know how much I like the running backs who are cheaper than that. Like Tyrone Tracy, he's splitting workload with Singletary. Alexander Madison, I guess you can make a case for him, but I feel much better about Jerome Ford and Charbonnet as the cheap guys as of now.
For what it's worth, I do like Swift this week, and I hope he's very low owned against that Detroit team that's just absolutely gutted on defense to injuries. Swift still had 19 carries in a blowout loss last game. So keep that in mind. DeAndre Swift to me looks like a pretty nice play here. We could go, let's plug Gibbs and Charbonnet in and see if we can build a decent lineup out. That gives us 5,000 per player remaining. And if you went with a cheap tight end, it would open things up a little bit.
Let's see.
So like Jordan Akins.
We could go all the way down to Jeremy Ruckert at $2,600. We could go Akins this time at $3,200 because we took him out of the last lineup. Well, then we got the same situation where it's Akins and Ford together.
Well, no, I threw Charbonnet in with Gibbs just to see if we could make that work instead
I
of
wonder if
Ford.
we have to go cheap though at tight end. Or yeah, Jordan's already plugged him in. What does it give us for salary?
This is actually very, very doable. That 5K range at wide receiver this week is loaded. You have DJ Moore. You have Adam Thielen, who's in my opinion, a pretty good spot. There's a few of these guys. Marvin Harrison. Keenan Allen is 5,300.
I don't hate Josh Downs at 4,900 either.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you can live pretty comfortably in this range. You really can.
Let's go DJ Moore at 5,700, Jordan. This is the same matchup we saw on Thanksgiving where the Bears looked terrible in the first half and they just did nothing but throw the ball in the second half. Caleb Williams looked great, and like everybody from the Bears had big games. You had a big game from Keenan Allen, you had a big game from DJ Moore, you had a big game from Caleb Williams. And it's hard to think this game script is going to be much different.
Yeah, for sure. You just have to hope that wind holds off because it's going to be cold there, but nothing crazy. 5,600 now. You could go, ready? You could go Brian Thomas and then still have 5K remaining at flex. That would get you a Josh Downs. It's actually not bad.
It's not.
That's
who projects for the most. Is it Downs who projects for the most fantasy points now, Jordan?
I think it's Hawkinson. Elijah Moore. We don't want Elijah Moore and Akins though. Without. Well.
All right, so let's just go Hawkinson then.
And with Hawkinson, you got a little bit of Charbonnet Hawkinson, dueling there.
Little game stack.
It'll be positive. I don't know how positive. All right. Yeah, that's fine. What do you think makes this a better lineup?
Just because he projects so well for us relative to his price point, and also one that we haven't talked about yet, who I do think makes sense when you need a punt to wide receiver, Jalen Coker. It's a good spot for him against the Cardinals. Coker also, when he's been healthy, has been somebody who's been a big play threat. He had an 83-yard touchdown catch last week. So you look at Jalen Coker now for the season, and when he's played and been healthy, he's been pretty involved. 4 catches on 6 targets for 110 yards and a touchdown last week. He had 8 targets the game before against the Giants. Against the Broncos, he was targeted 6 times. He got 4 of them for 78 yards and a touchdown. So I think if we went with Jalen Coker and flipped him instead of, let's say, like, it's going to depend on what we get with the other spots. But if we turned, say, Brian Thomas into Jalen Coker, and then we just saw who we could spend up for over TJ Hawkinson, because
I tried it already. It's like James Conner, Devontae Adams. It's a good range. It's a good range, for sure.
Yeah, try.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who's best at the flex? Who projects best, Jordan? Okay. Yeah, this will sim out better.
I do think Amari's pulling it down, though.
This is true as well.
And I don't know how much that matters because, we're looking to get a little contrarian there. I don't hate it. But I do wonder, like, if Amari's pulling that down to the point. 70, that's not bad. That's a decent number.
For what it's worth, I was looking at my Bills stacks, and the Sims had me overweight to the field on Cooper.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, then I stand corrected.
Not massively, but a little bit. He's projected for 5% ownership, and I had 7% of him.
All right, so you're still getting some then. Yeah, he's still viable in a spot
Yeah.
like this.
I do agree with you though. I think if maybe we took out Cooper and went to Shakir, that it could maybe sim out slightly better. But Cooper didn't show up as like a dead player or anything like that.
We are seeing though, and this is the whole purpose of this show. Josh Allen lineups aren't. There would be some slates, some weeks where Josh Allen lineups would be really tough. I actually think this week leads to it easier, making it easier to play Josh Allen stacks because that 5K range of wide receiver is loaded and cheap tight ends.
And then even running back, when you could go Charbonnet and you could go Jerome Ford. Yeah, Brendan Smith in the chat saying with Leggett out, he likes Coker this week. Yeah, I agree. I think Coker looks good.
Yeah. Brandon also said he'd prefer him over Thielen. I still prefer Thielen. I still think Thielen is the guy. And far and away the best receiver on that team, but I wouldn't blame you for doing that. Where was that question? Eric, hey Dave, thoughts on the Dolphins versus Niners? Yeah, we'll build one out there and then we can do a FanDuel one and see how they look. By the way, guys, it's technically not live yet, but you guys are hearing about it first. So it's live, but it's not promoted yet. This is the first anyone's hearing about this. It won't be for everybody. You know, we still have the link join to get the core package for free for the month, $100 value. But if you're someone that's, serious about this, serious like our friend Aaron Costa, who has the Sims Max package, just took down the big old Millie over on FanDuel. If you're serious about like really having every single tool at your disposal for NFL, we have a really awesome deal that we're starting off right now. Again, this is the first you're hearing of it. If you're watching on Thursday, it's marketed, it's live in the back end. So if you were to do it right now, it counts. But no one's heard about it. Here's what it is. $179 for the remainder of the NFL season, NFL Sims Max package. Now, Greg, I know you had a hand in formulating this one. The Max package, which allows you to sim up to 10,000 lineups in NFL, which has every single tool imaginable for the Sims. It's the single lineup sim. It's everything, right? All of the projections, all of the data, and the ability to sim up to 10,000 lineups. The contest generator sim them in the pre-contest sim for every single slate, has the post-contest sim, the late swap, all of that is usually $200 a month, right? Because it's just everything. Now it's $179, not for the month, but through the entirety of the season through the Super Bowl. That is, in fact, 2 full calendar months. And given the amount of slates you have with the Saturday football, like I said, you literally have football, I think, like 11 of the next 15 days or something like that. That's just one thing. But when you consider that you have wild card week, Monday, Sunday, and Saturday, divisional round, championship, Super Bowl, week 18, week 17, week 16, you're getting 2 full months, Greg, for the price, not of one, for the price of less than one. It's a pretty awesome thing here. The promo code is CELEBRATE. Link is down there. You'll see it first thing in the description. If you use the promo CELEBRATE with that link, you're getting the rest of the NFL season, the highest tiered package we have, NFL Sims Max, for less than the price of one. Anything I'm missing on that?
No, just sign up. If you're using the link in the description box, enter that promo code CELEBRATE when you're signing up for the first time. And yeah, you get $179. That'll cover you through the rest of the year. So you're talking about every single slate, all the playoff slates, Super Bowl. So go check that out. If you guys have been on the fence about signing up, or if you are on the core package and maybe you want to upgrade to the max package, this is the best deal to take advantage of to make sure that you're getting access to the NFL tools through the end of the season.
Yeah, it's for non-active max users, for what it's worth. Non-active max users right now. James, who had asked that question. But to be, honestly, we've run so many promos that I think everybody has had an opportunity to get in at a pretty good price on all of the tools over the past couple of months. But yeah, if you want, it's in there through the Super Bowl. CELEBRATE is the promo. Use that at checkout. and that will grab you 2 months. When I say 2 months, I mean you get the entirety of the rest of the NFL season through the Super Bowl. Every slate, every game, every contest, Sims Max NFL for $179. Normally it would be $400, right? So it's actually a massive discount, even if they're sticker shock. Oh, 179. It's a huge discount, right? It'd be $400, right, Greg?
Yeah, for 2 months, it's $200 a month, and instead of it being the $200 for 2 individual months, it's getting the $179 for the entirety of the rest of the season.
And then you're just locked in. You don't have to worry about anything for the rest of the year. All right, let's build a Tua lineup real quick. I'm actually excited to see how this one shapes up. Here's the only problem. We have Waddle in right now, and I would not be surprised if he didn't play. That makes it a little bit more difficult on a Wednesday show.
By the way, I have a hard out at 11, just because we have 14 minutes left. Wanted to bring that up. But anyway, Tua, it's either way, Tua to Tyreek Hill is still going to look decent even with Waddle being in right now. Tyreek Hill, $6,900. His price is just kind of remained stagnant. I thought we were going to end up seeing him go up, and just didn't end up being the case. The Dolphins offense hasn't been nearly as good as expected. But yeah, Tua to Tyreek Hill, I think that's pretty clearly the stack. You know what's funny also in hindsight now? Remember how much shit, and you and I included in this, we all gave Arthur Smith for having Jonnu Smith more involved in the offense than Kyle Pitts? Was he right in hindsight?
He could have been. I'm a fan of Jonnu. Like when he came to Miami, this is a guy that I thought they would use. But I get what you're saying that, he was getting kind of elevated over Pitts in a lot of situations. Jonnu Smith's good. He's good. Yeah, probably better than Kyle Pitts. I don't know. But then, what if you put Kyle Pitts in Mike McDaniel's offense? Does it look different? I don't know. Probably not. Let's try a quick one then. Then we'll do FanDuel. So if you were to go, so what do you want to do? Tua, Hill, and Jonnu?
Yeah, we could do that. It is kind of so Tyreek Hill is going to look good either way, but Jonnu Smith, it's just difficult because with Jalen Waddle currently projected in for us, and there being a lot of good tight end options, that is going to bring down the sim ROI of the lineup a little bit. But I think this is the preferred way for me to make stacks of Tua.
So let's just try it. Plug Jonnu in, but yes, you're right. It would look way different in the event that Waddle ends up sitting out in this one. Screw it. I'm just plugging Giants defense in to get us something very cheap here. I'll throw this to you. Plug 2 running backs in. Who do you think works best in a spot like this? We have 5,800 remaining for 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex.
We could go a little bit. We haven't plugged in yet. Actually, no, we did do let's go a little bit more expensive though at running back now. Let's do Gibbs and Taylor.
Okay, we can go Gibbs, Taylor. I also think we can't be sleeping on Chuba either. So I know he had a tough game. He burned a lot of people, myself included. I told you guys I had a ton of Chuba Hubbard, a ton, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. He was a good play, played 97% of snaps. Can't really ask for more than that. It is what it is. So let's try it. Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs. And yes, if you wanted to plug in like a Chuba over Taylor, who I prefer a little bit more, you could do that as well. That gives us 4,900 per player. All right. This is probably a good Jalen Coker spot.
And then did we put the defense in yet, Jordan?
Yeah, I put Giants in.
Okay.
So Jalen Coker, Giants, Tua, Gibbs, Taylor, Tyreek, and Jonnu Smith. So we have wide receiver and flex, 5,300 remaining. Probably like a Keenan Allen spot, right?
Keenan Allen's 5,300. Let's see. Is there anybody else on the cheaper end? Oh my God. Debo's, if we want to go with the game stack here, Debo is down to $5,200.
Oh, actually, let's go Keenan Allen and Debo.
Okay.
Right? I mean, why not? You get the little run back action there.
Yeah,
Keenan Allen looks pretty good this week.
there's some good wide receivers that I like getting to around this price range. Marvin Harrison's $5,400. You've got Keenan Allen at 5,300. Debo's at 52, and this has to be the floor for Debo Samuel. I just can't imagine we're gonna have a slate next week where Debo's like 4,500 or something.
I mean, I would hope. We don't. I think this is gonna sim well though. There you go.
Yep.
And this sims a lot better if Jalen Waddle's out.
True. Yes.
So good looking lineup. All right, let's build one for FanDuel. Build one out for FanDuel and make it happen. By the way, guys, if you're not using the Stokastic avatar, you're leaving money on the table. We see it. They've been everywhere in the leaderboards lately, by the way. It makes me very happy, especially seeing these new ones. Stokastic.com/HOF. Just go there. That's it. Stokastic.com/HOF. Download one of those avatars. Use it wherever it is you play. And if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, guess what? You get a free month of Stokastic Max. Yeah. And any sport you want, $200 value. Pretty good. You win twice. We updated all of this before the season started. You can now win multiple times in a calendar year. Get silver, you get another month plus a free week. Get gold. We've got a lot of golds. Get Sims All Access Max. That's every single sport. That's literally every tool on the site. And that's just for finishing top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more 3 times. I say just, but what I mean is it doesn't matter how big the entry fee is. Doesn't matter. And of course, get that elusive 20K win in any field size and get the beautiful Stokastic engraved Ring of Honor in the spinning display case. Oh yeah, look at her. Look at her shine. Look at her spin. Stokastic.com/HOF. Just tweet us your wins. It's Stokastic HOF. It's that simple. It's no wonder we get 1,000 submissions a week for this. And Jordan and I, by the way, Jordan, we got to do Hall of Fame today. We got to do the video today. All right. Anyway, check it out if you haven't done so yet. What were you going to say, Greg? Where do you want to start?
Yeah, so a couple of quarterbacks that we have not yet gotten to that I like as options for this week are Caleb Williams and Joe Burrow. Let's do a Caleb Williams lineup because, I mean, we've had exposure to Bears wide receivers in just about all the lineups we've built so far, but we haven't plugged them in with Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, it's just such a reasonable double stack to be getting to. Keenan Allen, $6,200 on FanDuel. DJ Moore, $6,300. You got Caleb Williams at $7,200. It's so cheap for a spot that very clearly is upside because of the game script.
I'm a huge fan of this, especially knowing that defense to Detroit is just mangled by injuries. So, yeah, I'm with you. Let's go with a cheap D. For the sake of time, go ahead.
Super easy run back in Jahmyr Gibbs as well.
Very. Also, super easy defense. If you wanted to go to the bottom, you have the Giants at 3,100, or you have the Raiders against Mac Jones at 3,200. Go Raiders here. Raiders is that's a good spot. Go with the Raiders here. And then you said run it back with Gibbs.
Yeah,
definitely. We still have a lot of meat left on the bone here.
Want to plug in Chuba? We haven't done a Chuba Hubbard lineup yet.
Definitely. I really like him this week. I think a lot of people are going to, be less confident in Chuba Hubbard. But he'll still be chalky. He'll still be popular because of how inexpensive he is. That still gives us 7,200. Realistically, you don't even need to punt tight end at all.
No. Yeah, we could go to Trey McBride. We could go Brock Bowers at tight end.
Let's go McBride. Get us that skinny stack with Chuba.
Okay, makes sense. This lineup's coming together pretty easily.
Also, it is crazy. You look at Malik Neighbors' price point. He's 82 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DraftKings.
Yeah, he's really tough to get to on FanDuel. Way too easy to get to on DK.
Very, yeah. Okay, so 71. God, we have so much room to work with here. You could go $7,300 Brian Thomas, $7,400 Drake London. Who else projects well down here?
Yeah, I'm looking through. And then there's also at the running back spot for the flex, you got Dowdle, $7,300. He's gotten crazy workload lately. You got Jonathan Taylor, 7,700. So I am inclined to want to go to the 6K range. So we'll have the flexibility. Or, I mean, we could plug in Charbonnet as well at $6,900. But I wouldn't want to go too cheap here because I would want to get Taylor, Dowdle, Charbonnet, one of these guys into the flex spot.
That's fine with me. And for those of you guys who plan on, just building stuff throughout the week, DeAndre Swift at 6,200 is still, in my opinion, too inexpensive here. All right. So who do you want to go? Let's do this. Let's work backwards here. Who do you want at the flex? Which of these running backs do? Because I assume you like one of these running backs.
Yeah, I like a lot of them actually. So let's let's plug in Dowdle at 7,300.
Dowdle?
Yeah. Especially on FanDuel where just the yardage counts a little bit more, where there's not the PPR bonus. Dowdle, his workload is just so difficult to ignore now.
You like him over Charbonnet?
Yeah. I mean, just look at the rushing yardage totals. So DraftKings, I prefer Charbonnet. FanDuel, I prefer Dowdle, where there isn't the full point PPR bonus. 25 carries for 149 yards for Dowdle last week, 18 for 131 the week before. Before that, 22 carries for 112 yards. He's only scored 4 touchdowns this year, but considering his workload, I would expect that to go up, just kind of dependent on the Cowboys actually being able to score points. But yeah, I like Dowdle more on FanDuel.
Okay, so then I'll ask you about this combo. So basically, if you went Dowdle, your best projected player at wide receiver to finish this lineup out would be Khalil Shakir. If you went Charbonnet, your best projected player would be Brian Thomas or Jerry Jeudy. So I don't think it's a huge difference. We got to be out of here in a couple minutes. I say we close the show out by just running those 2v2s.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
So, Jordan, the first one was Khalil Shakir and Rico Dowdle. Yeah. This is Brian Thomas and Zach Charbonnet. All right. Yeah, I'm curious now to see if a 2v2 makes really any significant difference at all. But I'm with you, Greg. There you go. 127. That's nice. I really do like the Caleb Williams stack. It's cheap. It gets you what you want.
Yeah, and then Dowdle with whoever projects best at wide receiver.
Khalil Shakir.
All right. Yeah. We could use the 300 upgrade the defense, but not worth it right now.
What do you think? It'll be around the same?
Yeah. I mean, there always could be a little bit of variance if it just wins an extra GPP in the sim run, but yeah, super similar.
It's pretty much identical. Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Hey, appreciate you guys. Greg and I will be back here Friday for the Sim Strategy Show tournament strategy show. And then tomorrow we got Thursday Night Football. We got shows for Saturday.
So for this Saturday, let's see, what's the NFL schedule?
We got 2 games.
There will be a show on the schedule.
Cool. Yeah, Texans, Chiefs. And is there only 1 game for Saturday? No, I don't remember.
No, there's 2. Steelers, Ravens as well.
Steelers, Ravens. Okay. There you go. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Like I said, Celebrate is the promo. It's a good one, man. Sims Max NFL through the remainder of the NFL. Just lock it in now. Lock it in now through the remainder of the NFL season, and you won't have a thing to worry about. You'll also be catching a massive discount. That's like a $221 discount over the course of those 2 months. Real solid. Highest tier we have of any package. 10,000 in the Sims, every other tool. That's what Aaron Costa uses, and that fella just took down $1 million. Have him teach us his ways. Actually, he just said, Greg, he actually said he just picked the lineup from the Sims. That's in his tweet. He just picked the lineup from the Sims. So I can't,
a million bucks.
Can't ask for much more than that. That's down there. You'll see it. It's the second one with promo code CELEBRATE. Guys, thanks. See you back here for the next one. No basketball today, but tomorrow basketball is back. NFL returns. And then we'll take you all the way up until Sunday with a whole lot more content right here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. Peace.